this was a long time ago. This was actually before I was born. And you may have heard about this, but this is when Elder McKay was here at BYU, and he was talking about what Zion should have. What could we have in the future? So read this statement very closely. Improve the means of communication with a radio in your pocket. We may communicate with our friends and loved ones from any point at any given time. Now I carry mine on my belt. So this is what it means when your eyes are open. And that's true for every one of us, as teachers and as students. We can have ideas like this. I remember when I worked over in engineering, Dr. Allen, who ran a research center over there, was trying to develop new technology around what's called group technology and trying to classify things for manufacturing. And he was stumped, but he had a RA who was working with him, who was really into trying to solve the problem, how can we organize everything. And the student had a dream one night where he saw how everything should be organized. Next morning he went in and he told Dr. Allen, here's the solution, and it was the right one. And because of that one solution, that dream, there's been multiple companies started based on that technology. And it has all different kinds of names, but that technology has gone around the world. We use it in the church a lot for search engines and stuff like that, but that was the basis of it. So I want you to realize the universe is ours, but we have to be willing to seek for it and to ask for it. And if our eyes are open, it can be ours. One of the things that we do here at BYU is we have to allow the light of truth to come through the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Life is the tree of life, tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we have to help them recognize where the truth is and the light. And we can do that by using the aims of BYU. And that helps guide us in doing that. But we also have a path of learning that we're going on, that we have all our students going with. And one of the things we need to do is be able to show them the source of flowing knowledge and where the truth is. But at the same time, we have to be able to show them how to answer and look for the correct whys. And sometimes you have to look real hard to find the right why. So it's not an easy thing to do to be a teacher as well as a student in trying to find truth, but it's there. And if we follow the correct principles, we can do that. And the greatest principle is to have the Holy Ghost with us. So do we seek for the Holy Ghost when we're preparing our lessons, as well as in class, and all the time, and teach the students? That's how you learn, is by having the Holy Ghost with you to help you understand the concepts and inspire them to be the best that they can be. So, with that as a premise, I want to give you some of my rules of thumb that I have about technology and teaching. Just so you know that I have room or experience in teaching in a classroom. I taught Linux over in engineering, and then I taught over in the Marriott School for about 12 years. Information systems, not ISIS anymore, information systems, so they call it supply chain, then it was called operations, and I did an MBA class with Scott Smith. Scott went on to do Qualtrics. So I've had the experience of what you're going through, and I know what graduate students are like, and if you think yours are bad, try an MBA. A guy who's been out in the industry for 3 years as a manager coming back and you're telling him how to do it. They're a rough group. But anyway, here are mine. Technology in and of itself is not a solution. I'm not one that says, just go get technology, it'll do everything you need and it'll solve the problems. It's not. It can be part of the solution, and you need to be able to choose what works with you and what doesn't. And not all technology will work with you. You may not like it. Find what's comfortable for you, what helps you to be a better teacher, and what helps the students to be a better learner. You have full control of your class. how and what is taught. You create the learning environment, and technology is just there to assist you. And that's really true. You are the one who sets the environment of the class. It's kind of like what we're talking with Alan Wilkins about. Getting to know them, opening up to them, letting them open up to you, and having a relationship, and being able to help them reach their potential. So those are kind of my rules that I live by with technology in the college. But what the dean asked me to talk about was a new type of thinking that's going on across the country. And Lance Erickson and I went back to Oregon State University, and we visited their Learning Innovation Center. And this is a new experiment. I'm going to skip the highlights. I'll come back to it.
Must not have been that impressive.
Oh, it was.
Okay.
I was going to tell you, well, right here, it's a university experiment. It's not like what we're doing here at BYU, because education's taken 2 rooms and making it a learning classroom. Whereas this was faculty across the university, except for engineering and business. They didn't want to get involved in it. They had their own way of doing it. Their goal was to find out, how do we integrate the teaching and learning based on pedagogy and learning space. So does learning space, the way you organize your room, affect the way you teach and learn? And every space, and you'll see, every space was dedicated to learning. And then they actually had to create a new academic technology organization that was separate from the main university IT. Now, to a lot of you, that may make sense. To have a group that's just focused on the classrooms and not just the whole university. They're collecting data, they're doing analysis, and they hope to publish. And then I want to show you what we're kind of doing, what's here at BYU. This is the new building. This is the experiment. So it's 3 stories. I forget the square footage, but you can see that it's fairly large. So you're not over there talking about $40 to $50 million on this building. And it is an experiment. When we went through it, he kept explaining we could change all this at any time if the experiment doesn't work. So let me show you their classroom that they think is the best. So look at the size of this. It has kind of like a movie theater seating, but you'd be up here on the stand, and you have your control panel there. And on that control panel is probably about 3 feet wide or diameter. It has a PC, it has a Mac, and you can kind of see the phone that's down in here. That phone is, you pick that up and you will have a person. You don't dial a number or anything, you just pick it up. And one of the support teams, and there's only 6 people on that support team that support all 140 classrooms in 4 different areas. You pick up that phone, they have cameras in the room that they can see you, and they can talk to you and say, what is the problem? And you say, hey, the laptop's not coming up on my PowerPoint. They can remote in right then, even faster than we can if you've done it with our guys. They just remote in and they can start fixing it. So the whole idea is you've got all the technical support you need right there. So this is what it looks like when you have students in it. How many of you like this idea? Do you see good things about it, or do you see any bad things about it?
Does the center slowly spin?
No. But you can spin on it yourself.
I just wondering.
No, you can walk around this platform. You do need to be careful of stairs. You know, you could trip over them. So do you see anything bad about it or anything good?
I do a lot of work on a chalkboard, and so I'm wondering, how does that look? I just have to like be doing it on a little console and it would project up? Or
Yeah, you could do it on a little whiteboard on a computer that transfers it up there. But you have to write small because you can only write as big as your screen, so it's not as good as a whiteboard. Any other? Yeah.
I suffer from gunfighter syndrome. I don't like people behind me.
And that's the one I think. You always have your back to somebody. In the Marriott School, they have a U shape. and you can stand up there and you can still have discussion. So it'd be like, same here, but we're gonna be 10 feet wider, and I can walk up behind you or between you and everything. But I'm always facing you. So that's, for me, a downside is I always would have my back to somebody. They said a plus is students can see each other. That could be bad or good, especially if the guy's discovered a girl that he likes over there and he's trying to get their attention. So this is what it looks like. You have your screens. They had one person, a faculty member who has a theater background, and she worked it out that she could change the lighting colors when she wanted to emphasize something. So, I mean, if you wanted to put that much time and coordinate it and trust technology to always work, you know, you could have your thunder and lightning type effect on there. This is a smaller room, but the same idea. They have great sound. How many of you have had a projector die on you during a lecture? And you have the same problem here. So it doesn't eliminate some of the basic problems of technology failure.
But that's a projector, so if one goes down.
Yeah, one could go down and still have the others, but then that means the students who were across from it have to now lean somewhere else.
I can see 3 of them easily.
Yeah, yeah. If the room wasn't full, you could move them around. So here's the space in the hall. Everywhere you go, there is a place for people to study. Now, I can only really see 2 people studying. I'm not sure what the others are doing on their laptops. But there's 2 that have at least a book open. They have this area where you can have after-class discussion, where you're sitting up here, and they have a projector here that's coming to a screen here that they look at. And they're saying it'd be nice to have a whiteboard there. And one suggestion I gave was just put up glass there and you write on the glass. And then it's easy to clean on that and it doesn't block your view and everything. What do you think of that type of thing that's you could do afterwards, or a TA session?
Very private though.
No, it's not very private, but most students don't seem to care about that.
Trying to study in the hall like I am.
You just need a lab room. You just need lab.
Yeah. Okay, here's another hallway. This is the system that's here. It's a TV. It has 3 or 4 seats, so one of the students can hook his laptop up and say, okay, let's work on this Word document or a spreadsheet or whatever. So they have them all the way down the hall here. Of course, that's very expensive and a lot of work to maintain. And they do get used, but not constantly. They have these rooms where they have a touch screen that you can have a discussion group and work on things together. Over here, they have what's called a whiteboard wall. And OIT's pushing that, but physical facilities is saying don't do it. So you got 2 with their various reasons. Of course, the nice thing is anybody can sit down there and just write on it. But what physical facilities says, if you want to change that wall, you have to take the whole wall down to the studs. And that's where it gets real expensive. So if we were to cover this wall so there could be a white wall, and then a few years later we want to take it off, you have to take down all the sheetrock, clear down to the beams.
Or just put 1/4-inch sheetrock over top of the white.
Yeah, you could do that too.
And you're done.
But either way, you're going to pay a lot.
1/4-inch sheetrock's pretty cheap.
So let me show you some things that I've noticed here at BYU that we are already doing. And you may be surprised of how creative some of the students have been. Over in the library, they've rebuilt the carousels if you walk down in there. So now they have a whiteboard here. Behind there is her Ethernet machine and power for her laptop. And there's room for 2 or 3 people in there. So they can sit there and have a study group and work on their projects. This is, yeah.
So I talked to Holtzog about that. He's the assessment librarian. They've done an assessment on it.
he said they've dramatically increased the number of students who use study carrels in the library
Oh, yeah.
because of that.
Right.
It's been a big hit.
And a lot of kids use it. They still have the study rooms that you can schedule, but students may not know about, and that's where you can be their savior and say, here's where you can go and study as a group. You've seen this part in the library. This is really popular. I've never walked through here and not seen it full of students. Yeah, because you can have food in here. This is a food eating zone, and kids are always there studying, or at least looking like they're studying. And this is the new room in the Harold B. Lee Library that you cannot schedule for a semester, but you can schedule it for your certain periods. So you can have a few days at a time. And this system is based on these new systems that they're putting in. These have a small little computer that costs about $50. It's a Raspberry computer. And that's what they're switching all of the tech podiums to, is this, which means you're going to have to bring a computer. So for history, if they said, oh, I want to have a computer in here so I don't have to bring my laptop, the department has to buy the computer and put it in there and maintain it, and then you can hook this up. But they're easy to program and they're cheap, whereas for the old system, it was $3,000 down to $50 and a programmer's time. It's a big change. So in here, you have a screen here, and this is your control area. There is a phone, but it only goes, it's a regular phone, so you have to dial a number and know who you're calling. And then there are two more, there's a screen over here and two more back here. And what you can do is you can share one computer to all the screens, or half the screens, or whichever screens you want. Do your general instruction to them and say, okay, break up into your groups, and each group gets in front of a computer or a screen, and they can hook their laptop up just like I did here with an HDMI or wireless, and they can work as a study group in there. So and the chairs are easy to move around.
Do they swivel?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can rotate them around to go any direction you want. So if in your lesson plan, if you say, boy, it'd be nice to have the students get together in groups and work on these, schedule the library and just tell the class next Tuesday, we're meeting over in the library in this room, and don't be late.
How many will it accommodate?
What's that?
How big is it?
You can get about 30 in there. Now, American Heritage has put in more, but they didn't use the screens. They did it for test review, and so kids were sitting on the floor, so we got in 50. But there's 30 chairs over there. And if you need to, we could probably bring in some other chairs to make it work. Now there's a new room over in the Crabtree, up on the 4th floor in 410, which has the same idea, but it's scheduled for a whole semester, so you may not be able to get in there. And then there's one over in the honors building in the basement. It's a smaller room, and that's available for semester if you thought something like that would work. Now, there is a way to do the same thing in any classroom. If everyone has a laptop, you use the program called Zoom, and then as a faculty member, you're giving your lecture and say, okay, I want you to break into your groups. You hit the button groups, and then it puts them in the groups, so everyone's got their laptop, so you're sharing, and you can share your screens and that, and you can work together. And then class is over, but there's a group that says, gee, we could have spent another hour. Fine, you four just choose a time and jump on Zoom wherever you're at, and you can continue your discussion. So there's advantages of just having the laptops. So if you're interested in this room, let me know.
Does it work with tablets too?
Oh, it works on your phones too.
Okay.
Yeah, and every student, every faculty has a Zoom account. So it's free to them, and my TAs can help you use it. We use it a lot for political science, for doing their, all the faculty travel away and they can do their lectures from wherever they're at, which has really been cool to watch how they do it, because we usually set it up here with the camera this way, and they can see everyone in the classroom. So you can still call on individuals, and you can tell if they're trying to avoid you. I found this in this building. I didn't set this up, I just happened to be walking through, and I noticed, wow, they're using the space. They just got together and they're working on whatever their classwork was or their group study. And this is in the basement of the Kimball Tower. This is a place where you can have food. It's the only place, you can't have it in the classrooms, but it's Kimball 110, and kids can go in there and use it and study with it, and we're happy to have them come. And these are my TAs, and they're the ones that can help you do the Zoom or any of these others. So here's a list of some of the things that we do. We schedule the rooms over in the Kimball Tower. We can help you with Learning Suite, Zoom conference, clickers, Qualtrics, Kumo. How many of you know what Kumo is? Oh,
You go back to that last slide?
Yeah.
And are you still using Swicket or KMBL Labs?
it's Swicket Labs because we had to buy that from OIT.
Okay.
And to change it, we'd have to buy a new name, though we may use an alias. And then 1185, if you want to just call them. Kumo is software that you can download. Everyone has it, and students have it. You log in, it's all on the web, and you can say, I want to connect to my box, my Dropbox, my OneDrive, or my Google Docs. And then anytime you go like up to BYU Apps, it connects all your data files to you. Or if you go onto the compute server or something like that. So all your data sources are connected for you automatically. And you see on the side, oh, there's my OneDrive or my Google Drive or now my box. Creative Cloud, which is from Adobe. All of you have access to that, so Photoshop and all of the tools. Students who are working for us get that free, so they can have it on the machine there at work and do whatever you want. You know, go in and Photoshop and make changes, posters, things like that. They know how to work the tech podiums. BYU Apps. How many of you have not been on BYU Apps? Okay, that's a good one. There's statistics up there, all kinds of good stuff that you can get to, and it's remote, thus you can do it anywhere in the world. So you can connect to it just by going to apps.byu.edu, log in with your net ID and password, and you can have that software. And if you want, we can pull up any of these. Office 365. Anyone using Office 365? We got 1, 2. So you can have 5 downloads of Office onto 5 different machines, and you can have 5 copies of Office downloaded to 5 different phones or tablets. So that's 10 copies of Office that you can have in your house with your kids, your wife, and yourself. Now, it's not the full version, but it's enough that you can do 90% of the stuff that you want to do. Linda online training. How many of you have ever used Linda? Okay, good number of you. You can find anything you want on Linda, on how to use anything in Word, Excel, how to do Python.
The one thing I couldn't find was how to get to Linda online training.
Oh.
Because I got an email and I clicked to it and I used it and I thought, oh, this will be really helpful, and then I couldn't figure out how to.
Linda.byu.edu.
Okay.
But make sure you spell Linda with the Y. We also have Learning Dialogue that I didn't put up here. How many of you use Learning Dialogue, or Digital Dialogue? Okay, one of you. One thing that I've suggested to other faculty to use, before the semester starts, jump on Digital Dialogue, introduce yourself, because you can make a little video, and you can say who you are, this is some things about me, this is what the class is about, what you should come prepared to do, and whatever you want to say. But you can also say, I want each of you to respond to all and tell us about yourself. Tell us your name, where you're from, what's your major, are you married, where'd you go on a mission. And that way the class gets to know each other, before class starts. And the guys love this for dating, but it's a good way to have everyone know everybody.
Girls hate that.
Stalkers are happy.
They can figure out which group they want to be in, who would be a good study group person. So that's what you can use the digital dialogue for, and that's been helpful.
I'd just say that I've done that in some of my bigger GE classes, and I would say a good quarter of the students, something goes wrong and they can't do it.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they just it doesn't record, it doesn't work on their phone, for whatever reason. I don't think students are as technically astute as we like to think they are. And
That's true.
So I tell them now, just use your phone and just upload something.
Okay, yeah, and that'll work too. And if you have problems, you can call my TAs and they can help you. Is there any other kind of software that or technology?
Well, I have some general questions about technology, so should
Okay.
I wait or should
Nope,
I?
we can, I think it's just questions, yeah.
Oh, good, well.
So I thought
so-
we'd spend time answering whatever
So
you
now that we're
want.
going with Raspberry, and not a tech podium, if I show a DVD in class, I no longer have a computer with a DVD drive.
That's right.
Right? So do I have to try to stream it from somewhere? And so why do I have the media library then with all the DVDs that I use in my class?
Well, this is one of the things I keep harping with OIT is that they draw near to us with their lips, but their ears are far from us. Because they don't listen to what we need and they come up with these new technologies and they just say, here, this is really cool.
Yeah, I don't need 50 ringtones for my phone.
Right,
But I
Try
need to be
playing a
able to show-
VHS.
What's that?
that's
Try
right.
playing a VHS.
Yeah, well, at least they forewarned us about that and said if you need it, we'll do something with it.
But you're not gonna hurt.
So I'm out of luck on that.
You
And
can't hook it up to this.
The other thing I'm out of luck on is when I call 27415 and then option 1.
Oh, that's Gary's group.
Yeah, for help with technology. The first thing I'll say, I'll start to describe and say, oh, are you on a Mac? Yeah. Oh, well, that person's not here.
Oh.
And I'm still trying to figure out after all this time. The biggest company in America. And the support for Apple is discouraging sometimes.
What are you trying to do? If it's dealing with teaching and learning, my students can help you with it. But if it's a deep downside,
Oh, it's just like using an Apple, like using a MacBook Pro, maybe in a classroom or something like it, or just generally. It's like, oh, well, that's.
well, my students can help you hook it up to these.
Okay.
Um,
Well, then I guess I should talk to Gary about why nobody can seem to.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
But that's been a persistent problem for
Okay.
decades.
Now, one warning I should give you, because I took Dr. Jensen from geography over to the classroom in the library, and he's Mac phone and Mac. And OIT was there with me, so this was kind of fun. And because I warned him, I said, they have problems connecting to Macs. And she was saying, oh, we can do it. So we went over, he pulled out his phone, and I pulled out mine, and I connected right on. But his iPhone had a hard time connecting. And she said, oh, it's probably because of the network problem or something, but it wasn't that. Because the librarians told me when people want to use Macs, they have to have a special person come in and help them with it. So Macs are difficult to connect to other things because Mac wants you to just stay in the Mac world, but we can work around that. So if you are going to use Macs in these new learning areas, let us know and we can come and help you do that.
Good to know.
But I will pass that on to Gary.
When's the switch to this Raspberry thing gonna take place?
They've been doing it.
Okay, so I don't own a laptop, never planned on owning a laptop, because I don't like laptops, because then I can take my work home with me, I try to leave it here.
That's right.
So this means I have to get a laptop now?
Probably. Now, the dean has told us,
For your department.
yeah.
And you can borrow.
Yeah,
you
but
can
all
borrow-
I.
That's a pain.
That's
For
temptation
every
for
day
every
of
lecture.
class.
we go
You
borrow
can
one.
borrow one for the semester.
Yeah.
Yeah, we check them out, but
Yeah.
I don't want to
the
take
dean's
it.
also said he doesn't want duplicating computers because of the cost of computers. So he's told OIT, I do not want my faculty to feel they have to have a laptop to take the class. You provide the computer there. And so We brought that up, and that's when they said, well, if you want a computer here, we'll hook it up, but you gotta provide it. So now the dean's
Sometimes I
gotta
wonder
buy it.
who's running the show.
We've always needed a laptop in this room.
Okay.
They never had a text podium in this room, so it was not as big of a switch.
All right.
And it's always been a problem until I gave in and just said, fine, get me a laptop. It was fine.
Well, that's not necessarily good.
The question, we have research, I mean, I have a hypothesis, but research why the circle format is better?
Yeah.
They don't. In fact, I asked him, I said, so you've been doing this for almost a month or a year. What data do you have to back it up? And he said, well, this is the director of technology across the curriculum. He told me, he said, we've been taking add drops for this room versus this room. And so I said, so it's the same professor in class in this room and in this room? And you're measuring add drops? And he said, no, it's just total add drops of this room versus, and I was really surprised that, how
The
can
lack
you use
of
that?
rigor.
University research is best.
And then other literature that I've
Yeah,
looked
well,
at,
that's
like
right.
from Michigan and that area, they said, all they gave for evidence is the responses from students saying, hey, I like this is kind of fun, this is cool, I like this.
But did they learn?
They didn't ask me that.
Replacing a computer.
So
Podium.
there's a lot to be done, so I'm really anxious to see what Steve West and, now I can't think of his name, over in education are going to do with their room, because they're controlling it so they can actually get some data. But my feeling from just observing those is it won't increase learning that much, if any. It won't be statistically significant. Some people will say, hey, it's more casual, I can do better. I don't have the teacher looking at me all the time, so I can kind of do my thing. But I don't know that you're going to see increased learning. But that's why it's convinced me we need to just teach them how to use the Holy Ghost and use the Spirit to study. And we teach by the Spirit, and we can convey our information that we've already prepared better that way. And that's the best way for anyone to learn, and we've all had those experiences.
We call it the HDMI.
What?
Plugging into the Holy Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
So at the beginning, you talked about how technology should be a tool, but notice how the PowerPoint screen takes up the room, it structures
Yep.
the whole interaction. So, I mean, you've eliminated your whiteboard.
And the clock.
And the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need this.
So what would be the possibility of having smaller screens in rooms? We have most of all of our screens, I think in most of our classrooms, I don't know, but are these huge screens that take up. So you're either totally into the technology
Yeah.
or you're not.
Color
And
nothing.
so what about screens in corners on the side or something that would be a little bit smaller? Is that a possibility?
That's a possibility. The other is when we do the whiteboard or the wall, we just paint it so you can use it as a whiteboard. It also works as a screen.
Then I'm still either or.
No, there's no screen down. You just write on the wall.
Well, I want both at the same time.
Okay. Then, like the room downstairs that we first met in, that has 3 screens. Has the center one, it has one at the left and one at the right.
Yes.
So
That would be better for me, but, and this room's a little small, but even this room, maybe you would want a graduate seminar where you had a screen up there that you could use,
Yeah.
but you could still use the whiteboard.
Take it down
Is
to
that
distance.
ever possible?
Yeah, and that would be a good thing to talk about, and we'd pull OIT in and say, hey, we want a screen like this, and one over here, and maybe whiteboards along here. Now, the thing is, you have to get with your department and make sure everyone's okay with that.
Right. Well, I think at least in the rooms we teach in, it's just adding to the room. It really wouldn't take away from what is already in place. You could just add it to it, but you'd have to add a projector and a small screen.
Yeah. Now, the other thing you can do is you can use your computer and a document camera, and you project your document camera, but you use it as a whiteboard.
Yeah. Does that work for like an iPad or?
Yeah, you can hook up any of those. There are tablets that you can write on. You just hook those up and say, okay, here's my whiteboard. And
Right.
you can go through
What's
and
the
do it.
software for that? Because that would, then you're not tied to a podium, you can actually.
It comes with those tablets. So if you can write on the tablet, you just plug it into the HDMI and you're good to go. So you can do it that way, or we've got a document camera my students can bring over, hook up for you, and you can just write on it.
Why don't they put document cameras in every room?
Because they're too expensive and they don't think everyone will use them. But if you want them, we
They
can.
also said we didn't drink caffeine on campus.
Yeah.
There was no demand.
That is true.
But it was the same research design as my name is
Yeah.
Circular.
But if you want a document camera, let us know. and
Well, I
we'll get
do, I
you.
order them, but it
Oh.
just is redundant to me. I order it, and then I have to order it, and they come and get it, and then they bring it back 2 hours later, and then they come and get it and bring it back, because I teach a class in it, and I just go, why don't you just put one in this room, and leave it here?
Oh, I agree with you. In fact, I was ordering one and she told me, okay, and we'll come back and get it 2 hours. I said, well, we're gonna need it at 3 o'clock.
No, they
Oh,
can't
we'll
get
bring
it.
it back. I said, look, just leave it there, at least for the whole day.
It's the
And
same
you can come
one.
back at the end of the day and
Yeah.
get it. And she finally
Nobody
did
used
that.
it in between times
Right.
either, yeah.
And so you they have their rules at OIT.
Oh, yeah.
But if you talk to the student and say, here's my reason, they'll kind of say, okay, I'll just book it from 8 to 5 in the room and leave it.
Okay.
And you say, good. So that's what you can do. I want it from 8 to 5 in the room, even though I'm only using it from 10 to 11 and 3 to 4. That way
Good to know.
they're following their rules and you get what you want.
And one day the silly tech podium wasn't working, and so lovely TA just pulled that up on her. She had her laptop or tablet with her, and we just stuck it underneath the document camera.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, why don't we just have document cameras, and that's all? So you don't not moving from here to this, and
Some people use them. I like them
I love them.
because I can put the book underneath
I can
it.
write on it, I can throw
That's
my
right.
book, I can put my tablet under there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to use a document camera, but it doesn't fit for everything. Or psychology can put their brain on it and show it up, you know. And so there's reasons for that. Any other questions?
I have another one, if that's okay.
Sure.
We've had people come and video us with some of our techniques. Okay, so getting that linked to our PowerPoints and our other presentations that we make in class, is that, and I'm okay, I can understand technology, but I'm not super good, you know?
So you're wanting the recording to have your PowerPoint and your videos and that?
Right, and linked with the Google Docs and all that kind of stuff. And so I get on a phone, and they're trying to walk me through it, and I'm just saying, can I just bring my flash drive over and you make me this?
Yeah, and they can do that. and
Is
depending-
that this 1184 number, or is it
It's the, what's your number?
the 7415?
I don't know, you just always call Amy and then ask for the video team.
Yeah, the one's, let's see, what is it, 714, or,
27415.
yeah, 7415. And what option are you guys?
I think we're four.
Option 4.
Option 4.
Yeah, they can help you with that and help you
Well,
with,
can I go to them, or
Oh, yeah.
have them come to me? And
Yep.
instead of trying to talk me over the phone,
Yeah.
that just drives me mad.
yeah, they're happy to help you do that.
Okay.
If you want, you can use Zoom and capture your screen and your voice. So, like if you're going to be out of town, or you're having surgery, or you're going to go be with your new granddaughter, and you're not going to be here, you can pre-record using Zoom, and you share your screen so they see your PowerPoint, and you just go like a regular lecture. And you just go right through it, and then you put it up on Learning Suite or wherever you want it to be, and tell them, come to class, and watch, just pull this up on your computer. Or you can say, I'm in China, and at 3 o'clock for class, I'm going to Zoom in, and we will hold class, a live
So it's still
discussion.
interactive.
It can be interactive, or it can be pre-recorded. And remember when we used to have, we had a few years ago when we had the flu epidemic, and if you thought you had it, you were quarantined? Someone over in geography was quarantined. So for 2 weeks, he had to Zoom in to do his classes. But you can use Zoom.
Because he used a
and-
Mac.
What? Yeah, it works great on a Mac. Zoom works on your phone. In fact, all of you should be using it now. You can talk to your family, friends, whatever. It's great for working with colleagues because we have unlimited use, so you can have as many people as you want. For social work, we used to do live webinars where they'd send out the invites and then people just jump on their computer and watch the presentation about social work, and then they decided we'll just record and then do it on demand. But you can have a webinar if you want. You can even have a panel of people who are from all over the world, and on the webinar it looks like they're all together, but they're all over the world, and your guests come in to listen, and they're all over the world. But if you want to ask questions, do a poll, how many of you do this and this, they choose it. You can do that with Zoom. So there's a lot of capability. Plus, you can record it. So if you have a guest lecturer who can't fly into Provo because either time or expense, just say, hey, can you jump on your computer this time, and do you have a mic and a camera? And they just connect and they can watch it.
So they have Zoom because of BYU, or?
Yep, they can download the client and connect to your account. And we usually set the account up to our personal phones. So I can just tell someone, I just give them my cell phone number and they connect and they can join in. I have a CES meeting every month with all of the other universities in CES, Hawaii, Idaho, Salt Lake, the church, and us. And we all just jump on at 3 o'clock, and we even start with prayer. I mean, it's just like we're all in the same room. And it's great to share what's going on. For example, how many of you have heard of Canvas? So Idaho just switched to Canvas. We're the last of the schools in CES and the church to go to it, if we want to. But they had 90% of the faculty voted to go that way in Idaho. And they're just a teaching school. So, I mean, it's nice to have meetings like that where you can learn information and things like that.
Is that what Independent Studies platform is?
Yes, they started with it. So if you're working with independent study, you're going to have to work with Canvas.
Instead of
Learning Suite.
It was Blackboard before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you remember Blackboard, you kind of like Learning Suite. But you do have, everyone has we have Canvas on campus, the library, so you can use Canvas now if you want. Yes?
If the Raspberry is the wave of the future now at BYU,
Well, for a little while.
and if you're the chair and you're thinking about all the investment I now have to make in computers, what would you recommend be the minimalist resources that I need? For example, can I get a desktop and stream, or should it be a tablet, or what would you recommend be the way that I should go in terms of paying or trying to spend at least more money to actually connect to these?
Are you
classrooms?
only using PowerPoint or writing on it, or?
I don't know.
It depends on, if you're running some heavy software, you may need a laptop.
Mhm.
If the software doesn't constrain you, then you could use a tablet that allows you to write if you want to.
And just put everything on a box and then stream through there.
Yeah, but Box isn't fast enough to really stream everything yet.
Mhm.
So you can download it and then run it.
Okay.
But yeah, you could just get any tablet. Everyone knows Macs cost more than others, but
Mhm.
whatever works well for you, you just get that.
How are you connecting the tablets? Because my phone and tablets and stuff do not connect to systems. So what are you using?
There are cables that you connect in that will go to HDMI or whatever, or on some of them you connect wirelessly.
Okay, so that's my question.
So
Will this new system
it
work
doesn't
wireless?
connect wireless.
I didn't think so. And I've yet to see a wire that works for any, I'm on Android for
Oh,
everything.
okay. And Android, that's what I have, and you can connect these up.
I have to go buy something.
Unfortunately, you have to buy the connector that goes from your phone to an
Your
HDMI.
department has to buy it.
Shouldn't that be part of the kit of cables they have here, is a way, since the suggestion is why don't you just get a tablet or a phone? Shouldn't that be part of the standard kit?
And I'm happy to try to persuade OIT to do that,
Yes.
but they won't because it costs money and they are under budget, so they'll say, you guys buy it.
It's all BYU, it's all money.
It's all church funds.
One pocket in the other.
We're here to sacrifice.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and those are things that we're happy to to work with you on. Yes?
Okay, so I'm relatively new. I've only been teaching for a year, but I'm down in the basement, and you talk about picking up your phone.
Not
There's
down
no
there.
service.
Only if your phone allows you to do internet, Wi-Fi.
Oh, even if you do Wi-Fi, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't
The
work.
EduRoam doesn't work there either.
Oh,
No.
really?
No.
Zero.
You're in
Zero.
You're in
See,
the
we need
So
to-
how do we do
We need to
this?
tell the network guys to fix that.
Please.
Oh, it's been a problem for
I didn't know that.
I've mentioned it twice since in my 3 years I've been here, because I'm a disaster scholar. It's just a matter of time until someone dies because we can't call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so who have you told?
I've told the department chair, and I've brought it up at a collective meeting when we met with the university president.
I know, okay, I will go back and tell them the Wi-Fi is not working downstairs.
I'm more concerned
Yeah.
about student safety.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
is
had a
Sue.
student last semester that paramedics came in, and we had to find a hardline phone in an office outside of the classroom to be able to get them there.
All
And we
right.
can't get any tech support there, so you can't call in.
You can't call for tech support, yeah.
All right, so.
Do you have a phone with one of those little cable things connected to it?
I wish we did.
One ringy dingy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
A rotary.
2 cups with a string.
Yeah, so you talk about, yeah. Or even a button that just says, help me, I'm in this
Beam me
room.
up, Scotty.
All
So
right.
seriously, coming back to walking in and finding out there's no podium anymore.
Yeah.
Do we go to our director? Are they gonna get notified? Who is gonna get notified that these things are gonna disappear?
The only way I've found is if I call OIT and say, what rooms are you working on? And then I get an idea of what, and then I try to let you know what's going on. Yeah, as soon as they let me know, I can let you know, but they're not real good at telling us what's going on.
Before and see what rooms I'm teaching in. So
Staff quality.
Leave the tech podium in. It's already paid for.
Yeah, if you give me those rooms and you have your chair's approval, I can just go to the dean and say, here,
Hear what? What was her question?
if you want the rooms not to be activated, I just need to know what they are and make sure your
Has to be
chair
a room
approves
that
it.
you're.
I'll push it all.
Start with all of them in college.
Well, get the chairs to say yes to that, and I will do that. All right, we're about out of time. I hope this has been helpful, and if anything, I hope you know where we are and that you can always call us for help. I've tried to email people, faculty. I do it every semester or a few months before the next semester of what software is needed downstairs in the labs of the Kimball. So you don't always hear from me. But there are new changes on Qualtrics, and I don't know how the best way is to get that out to you. So one of the new features that just came out is you can versionize. You know, it used to be if you created your survey and you wanted a new version, you had to copy it and name it something else. Now they have it built in that you can just hit and say, make this a new version, and keep you going, and then you choose to publish it or not. But if there's, I don't know a good way to communicate with everybody. So a few years ago, I sent around an email saying, if you want to know about your classroom or this, send me your email. I only got 5 back, so.
Can you give us, I mean, I'm an adjunct. I don't get included on a lot of these kinds of emails. Can you share your email?
Yeah,
Put
or
it
you
on
can
the bar.
you can always email me. I'm bruce@byu.edu.
Bruce, if you want, you can write it on the board. There's markers under there.
But you gotta raise the screen to write it on the
I ruined all my questions.
It's right on the screen.
Could write it on the wall and we'll take it down to the studs.
Or we can order a document camera, and it'll be here tomorrow.
The history.
They need to bring an OIT person in here.
They do, so that's what we're
Right.
trying to
Bring in somebody who can defend themselves.
Sacrificial.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Have them attend the class.
I can get Nate Hatch, who's in charge of OIT, and he's been willing to come in. And I've had him meet with lots of faculty in our college.
Pretty thick skin.
Yeah, he's very thick-skinned, but I've known him before he came here, so we were actually friends. I was his high counselor when he was a bishop. And I expected him to make a lot of changes when he came here, and it's been a year, and I've kind of been disappointed with him. But he
For
is willing to
DEI.
come listen or come to the meeting, and I'm happy to have him come talk to any faculty, because I want him to understand what the faculty are going through.
Is there a timeline for these changes?
Well, they're doing them
Summer?
faster than I thought they
You
were.
want them done by fall?
I don't know, they've got
We
a,
started that one last summer.
they've got a list
It's
that
not
they're
like
working
they're doing it
down.
in a day.
So I just need to get the list.
The basement's on the bottom of the list, is that?
It's only 50.
I don't know, I will call Relia and find out what's going on.
That's four guys. Four
That's not a union state.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.